Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise, give you the insights you need. Today, we're diving into something pretty significant, a proposed shift in U.S. immigration and employment policy. It's something that could really reshape how universities hire talent from abroad. We're talking about the Colleges for the American People Act of 2025. So our mission today, pretty simple. Unpack what this bill actually means, look at the arguments, the pros and cons, and understand what it might mean for universities for American workers and, well, the global talent pipeline. Think of this as your sort of essential guide to a complex issue.
Absolutely. And, this proposal isn't just appearing out of thin air. It's definitely part of a much larger ongoing conversation we're seeing about U.S. immigration policies generally. And there's certainly increasing scrutiny on different visa programs, particularly the H-1B. What's really interesting, I think, is how it highlights this tension between different priorities. You've got economic competitiveness, protecting domestic jobs, global academic leadership, all these things being weighed up.
That's a really crucial point. So to get what this change is all about, maybe we should first just quickly recap the current system. Many of you listening probably know about the H-1B visa program. Basically, it lets U.S. employers hire foreign nationals for what they call specialty occupations. These are usually jobs needing a bachelor's degree or more in a specific field. And normally, there's a cap, right? 65,000 visas a year for most companies, plus an extra 20,000 for those with U.S. graduate degrees.
But, and this is the key part for today's discussion, this is where it gets more complicated and where the bill comes in. For a long time now, decades really, universities and also certain nonprofit research institutions, they've had this special exemption. They're exempt from that annual H-1B cap.
Ah, okay, so they could hire outside those limits.
Exactly. They can recruit international scholars, researchers, faculty without worrying about hitting those numbers that private companies face. And the thinking behind it, historically, was pretty clear.
To attract talent.
Yeah. Attract the world's best minds to American academia. Foster innovation, do cutting-edge research, make the educational environment richer, especially in those really specialized STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, math, and research areas. The idea was they needed unrestricted access to global talent to stay competitive.
So it was seen as a way to boost our sort of intellectual capital. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But I know that exemption hasn't been without its critics. What's the main argument against it?
Right. While the goal might have been, let's say, noble, critics argue it's led to something they call labor arbitrage.
Labor arbitrage. What does that mean in this context?
It suggests that maybe some institutions might be hiring foreign nationals who often have fewer options to work elsewhere in the U.S. because of visa rules, at wages potentially lower than an equally qualified American might get for the same job.
I see.
So maybe a university hires an international postdoc researcher for, say, $45,000, when maybe a U.S. PhD holder would typically expect, $65,000 for a similar role, just as an example. Critics say this creates a disincentive, potentially, to hire Americans, and could push down wages in some academic fields.
Okay, and that brings us right to the proposed change we're focusing on today. The bill aiming to change this is called the Colleges for the American People Act of 2025, and it's introduced by Republican Representatives Tom Tiffany and Andrew Clyde.
And the main goal of this bill, it's pretty direct. Get rid of that specific H-1B exemption for universities. If it passes, these higher ed institutions would fall under the same H-1B quota system as private companies.
Wow, okay, so putting them on the same playing field, essentially.
Exactly. It would be a major policy shift, moving universities from, you could say, a privileged spot in the visa system to a more standard one.
That sounds like a huge adjustment for universities. Is there anything about timing or how it would be rolled out if it became law?
Well, one important detail, which probably eases some immediate worries, is that the bill isn't retroactive.
Ah, okay, so current hires are safe.
It means H-1B holders already working at universities when the bill might pass could still apply for extensions. They wouldn't be counted towards this new cap they'd face. So that provides some stability for existing international staff.
And looking at the bigger picture, this move by Tiffany and Clyde, it fits into a broader push we're seeing from some Republicans on immigration reform. It's very much rooted in that America First labor agenda idea, prioritizing jobs and wages for U.S. citizens and legal permanent residents.
Right, so let's dig into the arguments for the bill then. What are the proponents saying beyond this idea of labor arbitrage? Well, proponents argue the current exemption has allowed what they call backdoor hiring. They claim universities use the exemption to hire foreign applicants, maybe at lower wages, maybe for jobs that American graduates could fill, effectively sidelining qualified Americans. Representative Tiffany put it quite bluntly. He said, American students spend years earning degrees only to watch universities hand good-paying jobs to foreign workers on special visas. So it's framed as an issue of fairness.
That's a very direct criticism, and we've kind of heard echoes of that in other debates too, haven't we?
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about universities. You see figures like Vice President J.D. Vance criticizing big tech firms like Microsoft, for instance, saying they expand their H-1B numbers while also having layoffs. He's even called claims that companies can't find American workers dishonest. It really questions the whole premise sometimes used for needing H-1B visas if domestic talent is supposedly out there. So this bill taps into that wider feeling that the current system might be exploited, maybe unintentionally, but still at the expense of American workers.
That's a pretty strong case they're making. But what's the counter? What do the universities and their supporters say?
Well, on the flip side, you have universities, research institutions, some industry groups. They see it very differently. They argue that these foreign-born academics and researchers are absolutely vital. They point to huge contributions in innovation, research, teaching quality, especially in those very specialized STEM fields. They argue that, yes, domestic shortages do exist in these really niche areas, making international talent crucial for staying leaders globally.
So they're saying they genuinely can't always find the right person domestically for certain highly specialized roles.
That's the argument. Imagine a university needs an expert in, I don't know, quantum computing or some very specific area of material science. The global pool of true top-tier experts might be tiny. Restricting access to that pool, they say, limits their ability to stay competitive on a world stage.
So it really does boil down to this fundamental tension, doesn't it? Prioritizing American jobs versus maintaining that global edge in academia and research. How do policymakers even start to balance those?
That is precisely the tightrope they have to walk. It's incredibly complex. On one side, protect American jobs, ensure fair wages. Totally understandable. On the other, attract the best global talent to fuel innovation, drive the economy, educate the next generation. And it raises that tricky question. If you restrict access to foreign talent here, does that talent and the research funding, the breakthroughs that come with them, just go somewhere else? To competitors.
A brain drain scenario, potentially.
Essentially, it's not just about today's jobs, but about the country's long-term competitiveness, too.
Let's try and make this really concrete for you, the listener. Let's think about the potential impact. For universities and research centers, getting rid of this cap exemption, that's a game changer for hiring. Suddenly, they're competing head-to-head with big corporations for those limited H-1B slots. That could seriously squeeze their ability to bring in top international scholars, especially in high-demand fields. Think AI, biotech, advanced engineering.
Right. Imagine a university trying to hire a world-renowned expert. They might lose out to a tech giant that can offer maybe more money and has a smoother path to an H-1B visa under the cap.
And the ripple effects.
Well, critics of the bill worry it could create hiring bottlenecks, make it harder for universities to get the specialized people they need for cutting-edge research. The concern is limiting access could slow down discovery, new tech development, maybe even hurt educational quality in key areas. It impacts America's overall intellectual strength, its place as a global innovation hub. It's about those global talent pipelines and how they feed into a nation's progress.
Okay, now turning to you, the listener. What if you're an American worker, maybe a student thinking about your career, or perhaps you're already working in higher ed? This bill is explicitly designed to boost job opportunities for U.S. citizens and legal permanent residents in these university roles. The idea is remove the exemption and more positions, faculty, research, maybe admin roles, open up for domestic talent. It directly shifts the competitive landscape for you in these sectors.
So, given all these potential changes, this increased competition we've talked about, if you are a student figuring out your path or thinking about higher education, there are maybe a few things to keep in mind, some advice perhaps. First, it's really important to stay informed about these policy shifts. Immigration, employment rules, they aren't just abstract things. They directly shape career opportunities, particularly in fields that often draw global talent.
So pay attention to the policy debates, basically.
Exactly. Second, keep focusing on building highly specialized skills, especially in STEM advanced research. Standing out often means having unique expertise that's hard to find. Third, networking is probably more crucial than ever. Building connections within U.S. industries, within academic institutions here, that can open doors. And finally, just be aware how these policies are trying to shape the talent landscape. Understanding the dynamics helps you navigate your own career more strategically.
Yeah, this whole deep dive really underlines that core tension, doesn't it? prioritizing jobs at home versus staying competitive globally in research and innovation. And it leaves us with a pretty big thought, I think. How does a nation really strike that balance for the long run, ensuring you have a strong domestic workforce and you remain a leader in discovery? It's definitely not an easy question, and it's one that's going to keep shaping policy debates for a long time. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into what is clearly a really important and evolving topic.
It's definitely a complex area, and yeah, these discussions are certainly far from over.
All the best, and we will meet again with another important matter again.